I've closed over 4 million in high ticket sales, and honestly, the vast majority of my success came from understanding the exact principles that we're about to walk through in this video. So, my big promise to you guys is that if you are either a high ticket closer or you would like to become one, this video is about to make you a lot of money and level up your life in so many ways. Let's go. Okay guys, I don't want to drown you in social proof, but just to give you a little bit of an intro and show you that I do know what I'm talking about, my name is Scott. I've spent my whole adult life in sales, but the last few years specifically have been spent in high ticket sales, where I've worked alongside guys like Charlie Morgan doing over 1.2 million a month, Brooke Hiddink doing over 2 million a month, Felix Pren also doing over 2 million a month. And with that being said, if you understand this principle we're about to go through, I promise you, you will make a lot of money and your life will change. So let's dive in. When it comes to closing a high ticket sale, we need to think of this like a recipe, right? So the analogy I give is, let's imagine you wanted to make a cake. You're going to need some ingredients, right? What are you going to need? You're going to need flour, sugar, eggs, butter. And yes, there are other things that we could add in. They may make the cake taste better, but ultimately, without these crucial ingredients, a cake just simply cannot be made. Now, in my humble opinion, this is an absolutely perfect analogy for what we're about to talk about in this video, because there are 4 key ingredients that we need to close a high ticket sale. And yes, like the cake analogy, there are other additional things which are nice. They may increase our chances of a sale, but ultimately without the 4 key ingredients that we're about to go through, a sale just simply cannot be made. So let's dive in. Ingredient number 1 is the desire to change, or the want to change. So as a little bit of a thinking exercise, guys, when somebody buys something from you, especially something that is a significant a purchase to them, like a high ticket sale often is, what are they ultimately buying? Think about it and try not to overcomplicate it. You could say, well, they're buying the outcome, they're buying the goal that they want. And yes, that is true, but we can simplify it even further. When somebody makes a high ticket purchase, what they are buying is change. Now, we could talk about whether they want that change out of pain, out of desire, or both, but in the rawest form, when somebody buys a high-ticket product or service, they want a change. This cannot be emphasized enough. I know I'm repeating it, but it has to become ingrained in your mind that people buy change. This is the raw foundational ingredient of closing a high-ticket sale, the desire for change. The prospect isn't buying a course, they're not buying, an agency service or a software. Yes, they're buying the outcome and goal that they want, but simplifying it even further, they are buying change. And this is an absolutely crucial point to understand, because if you have no desire for change, then you have no sale and therefore you have no commission. Now you'll see here, guys, this little diagram, and you'll see here it says, remember the inspiration desperation matrix from part 1. Now to briefly give context to this document that we're looking at here, this is part of like 50, 60 documents that I give to my guys that I'm working with, right? Hint, hint, link in the description for that. So where it says part 1, that's because that's referring to a previous document. Now, I'm going to make a full video on what I call the inspiration desperation matrix, because it's another point of monumental importance. But to briefly touch on it here to give you guys context, what I found in high ticket sales is that you'll get a lot of sales trainers that will say, people buy out of pain or people buy out of desire. And yes, that is true, but in my opinion, it never went quite deep enough. What I've found through thousands of calls, millions closed, a lot of reflection and analysis is that people buy on a spectrum of pain and desire. So I coined the term the inspiration desperation matrix. You'll see on the left-hand side here, on this side of the matrix, we've got low pain, low desire, and we've got a sad face, because that is not where somebody buys a high ticket product or service. On the right-hand side, we've got high pain, high desire, and we've got big old dollar signs, because that is when a high-ticket sale is made. Now, here's the key, guys. What a masterful salesperson does is nudge the prospect along the matrix, okay? The basic laws of physics state that nothing stays still. Everything is in motion. So you as a closer, every single word that comes out your mouth is going to move the prospect in some direction along this matrix. And what we want to do is nudge the prospect further into a state of high pain, high desire, which you could also call high inspiration, high desperation. Okay? Everything that you do is going to nudge the prospect along the matrix. You could also think of this, guys, like a video game. If you've played video games and your character's got a health bar, like if your character gets hit, then the health bar goes down. If you do something good, it goes up. You can also kind of think of it like that. So in this diagram, the left-hand bar here represents a prospect's desire for change when they first jump onto a call with you. And the right-hand side represents a prospect's desire for change by the end of the call with you, by the end of your masterful sales process. Now, here's a point of importance as well. Some prospects are going to come to your calls already in just a massive state of needing change, a massive desire for change. And these are what we call lay down leads because they are easy to close. The thing is though, this is the minority of people, right? People who actually just show up already in a massive desire for change. And if we want to make the big numbers, the money that changes our life, I'm talking 20, 30K a month upwards, we cannot rely on just waiting for these people to show up because it's the minority. As closers, we have to have the ability with all prospects to increase their desire for change. And how we increase their desire for change is through the use of skilled questioning and pitching. And there's going to be a lot more videos coming on that, so just subscribe to the channel to keep up to date. For now, this is about understanding the foundational principles behind why we actually do this. And then we're going to get into the more kind of tactical as we go throughout this channel. But what I want you guys to ingrain into your mind if you want to make big money is that with all I do on the call, I am looking to increase their desire for change. Every single word that comes out of your mouth should be in alignment with increasing the prospect's desire for change. So really keep this in mind throughout your entire calls. Make it a subconscious habit to think about, and that what you are ultimately selling is change. And through the use of skilled questioning and pitching, we are going to nudge the prospects further into a heightened state of desire for change. So to round off this ingredient, guys, the desire for change is the foundation behind everything. Of course, yes, we do need more ingredients, which we're about to get into to close a high ticket sale, but the desire for change is the most important. It's the raw foundation behind everything. Think about like a house of cards. If you wanted to knock a house of cards over, what would you do? You would cut out the base. Same thing if you're building a Jenga tower and you want to knock it down, what would you do? You'd cut out the base. Well, in high ticket sales, the desire for change is the base. Without this, nothing else matters, okay? There are more ingredients that we need, but this is the raw foundational ingredient. It's the most important. So with that being said, let's move on to the second ingredient we need to close a high ticket sale, the desire to change now, okay? So now that you understand that what you're selling is change and that a sale cannot be made unless the prospect has a desire for change, and that desire for change comes on a spectrum of pain and desire, here's the thing, here's a key point. The desire for change will not close the deal in of itself because the prospect also has to want the change now. Not in 6 months, not in 1 year, but now. I'll give you a practical example that illustrates this. I'm going to give you two scenarios. Scenario number one, let's say that you wake up one day and you've got a slight minor headache, right? It's there, it's noticeable, it's slightly annoying and slightly painful, but it's not like you're in this crazy state of pain where you can't think or do anything else. Now, in that scenario, in this minor headache, are you going to get in your car, drive, say, 20 minutes to the shop, buy some medicine to try and get rid of the headache? Well, you might do, you might not, okay? The chances of you taking action, i.e. driving to the shop and buying some medicine, are lower because it's only a slight headache. Now, contrast this with scenario number two. In this scenario, you wake up one day and it's a pounding headache. Like, it hurts, it's painful, and you can't think or do anything else because the headache is just so bad. Now, in this scenario, are you going to take action? Are you going to get in your car, drive to the shop and buy some medicine? Yes, absolutely. Why? Because the headache is so bad, it's so painful that you have to change your situation now. Here's where it gets important. It's an important distinguishment. In scenario one, the person does want to change. They genuinely want to change. They genuinely want to not have this lingering headache. But the pain isn't like so bad that they'll take action right now. They'll get in the car and drive to the shop. Again, monumentally important to understand this, because you could have a prospect who genuinely does have a desire to change, but if they are not deep enough along the inspiration-desperation matrix, then they might not want to change now. And then what happens? You'll get a think about it objection. So your job as a masterful salesperson, as a masterful closer, is to nudge the prospect further into a state where they both, number one, want to change, and number two, want to change right now. Masterful closers create a heightened state of urgency. And again, there'll be a lot more videos coming on this channel about creating urgency because this is massively important. So they not only heighten the prospect's desire to change, but they also heighten the prospect's desire to change now. Very, very important. The third ingredient, trust your system/process. Now, like I mentioned at the start of the video, the four things that make somebody a buyer are crucial ingredients, and you need all of them. So far we've been through that a prospect, a key ingredient, they have to have the desire for change and they have to have the desire for change now. But again, this is not enough in of itself. And I'm going to give you another practical example to illustrate this. Now, let's say, for example, that I'm massively overweight. I'm far from it, by the way, but let's say that I am. Let's say that I urgently want to lose weight. So in this scenario, I do want to change and I do want to change now. So what happens is I reach out to a fitness coach in order to get help with my weight loss. I jump on a sales call with this fitness coach and he explains his system/process. You could also call it methodology, essentially like the way that you help your prospects, okay? The strategy, the system process. But here's the thing. That fitness coach, his system and process that he uses to achieve weight loss is called the Atkins diet. And in this scenario, let's say that I've tried the Atkins diet before, but it did not work for me. I didn't lose the weight. I found it difficult to stick to. It made me feel terrible. So in this scenario, that fitness coach is going to have a very tough and truthfully unlikely job of closing me, unless he's highly skilled. Why? Because think about this, guys. Again, this is where it gets very important. In this scenario, I do want to change. I do want to change now. But the thing is, I do not trust his system/process for achieving the change that I want, okay? This is another diagram that I give to my guys, okay? On the left-hand side, you'll see we've got our stick man that's in his current painful state. On the right-hand side, you'll see our stick man in his desired state. In the middle, we've got, in the middle between these two islands, there is water and there is a bridge that connects the two islands. Now, in this context, what the bridge represents is how the prospect will get from where they are now, which is their current painful state, across to the other island, which is where they want to be, their happy desired state. So in simplified words, the bridge represents your specific system/process that's going to get them from where they are now to where they want to be. Very, very important, because remember, you're not selling a course, you're not selling an agency service or a software, you are selling change at the raw foundational level. So if the prospect doesn't believe that your specific process will get them the change that they want, then a sale will not be made, okay? Very, very important. We are selling change. So the prospect has to trust that your specific process will get them the change that they want. Very, very important. The fourth ingredient, they must have the financial resources to sign up, right? It's a pretty, simple ingredient to understand, right? They have to have the money, essentially. So for example, if what you're selling is $10,000 and the prospect only has $4,000 to the name and bad credit, then you just simply cannot make the sale, okay? Now, a key difference to understand is that there is a big difference between a prospect who just physically does not have access to the money required and a prospect who does have it but is not willing to part ways with the money, who's not willing to spend it with you, okay? It's very, very important distinguishment to make. And again, I train my guys up massively on how to handle financial objections. And I'm going to drop some game to you guys about financial objections. That's going to be coming very, very soon. But in summary, in order to make a sale, for a prospect to be a buyer, we need four main things. Ingrain this in your mind. With all that you do on the sales call, on your sales calls, think about these four ingredients that you have to have. Number one, the prospect must have a desire for change. They must have a desire to change now. They must trust/believe that your process will get them the change that they want. And lastly, the prospect has to have the money available to actually purchase. Elite closers, elite salespeople, what they do is they nudge the prospect further into a heightened state of desire for change. And they also nudge them further along the matrix into a heightened state of urgency, i.e. a desire to change now. What elite closers also do is they can effectively demonstrate why their process will achieve the change that the prospect wants, which is called bridging the gap. And elite closers are able to discern between when a prospect just physically does not have the money or when they do have it, they just don't want to spend it with you, okay? Very, very important, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is just, we're scratching the surface here. There's going to be so much content coming out that I know is going to really, really help you guys. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. If you do want to work a little bit closer with me, there's a link in the description, and I'll see you very, very soon.